Hi, have you ever had an idea for a product or a service or a new recipe, um, a creative painting, work of art, image in your mind, a new way to do a certain thing? Just an idea. And then you think, oh, that's a great idea. And then you do nothing about it. And then within some short amount of time, you go somewhere or do something, and there's your idea. Somebody stole your idea. Have you ever had that experience that you had this idea, you did nothing with it, and then it showed up in the world? Well, I've been thinking about that lately, how it must be that there's ideas that are somehow floating out there that are available, and somehow one of them here and there comes to you, and you have that opportunity to grab it, pull it down, and bring it into the world. And if you don't, isn't it amazing that that idea will show up some other time? Somebody else had that idea, and they grabbed it and they made it into the thing in the world. Well, this is interesting because even though that idea is out there, and even though somebody, you might pass on it and somebody else bring it into the world, the interesting thing is not so much that you had the same idea, it's that the way that you would have made the idea doesn't make it into the world. And this is my theme for today. I'm Kristen, and I think about these crazy things and how they affect the aliveness of the body. So I wanted to talk about this today because it's so important that as we live into the third act of our life, that we're always living into possibilities. That instead of wearing our identity like a rigid thing, this is who I am and this is all I'll ever be, and I can't be any more and I won't be any less, and then you experience decline and you think, wow, I am becoming less. Not a good feeling. And so studies have shown actually that what we expect to happen in the third act of our life has a whole lot to do with how long we live. Researchers from a woman named Levy did this study, and she found that people that had positive expectations about the third act of their life lived an average, mind you, of 7.5 years longer. And that means that if the average was 7.5, that some people live much more than that, 10, 15 years more than that. So it's important, right, that we keep in our mind the idea that we're still becoming, no matter what age we are. And I want to convince you that it's very important that you adopt that mindset if you haven't already. There's actually research about this idea business. Um, Isaac Newton, who you've heard of, and a guy named Leibniz that you may have heard of, but doesn't have nearly the fame as Newton, built calculus separately, but at roughly the same time. They didn't borrow each other's ideas, they didn't know about each other. We only know now, looking back. You might be familiar with the name Alexander Graham Bell. He is credited with inventing the telephone. But the patent office, on the very same day that they got Alexander Graham Bell's patent form, request, the same thing came from a name Gray. I've never heard of, but they filed for a patent for the telephone on the very same day. Then this theory of evolution, no matter what you think of that, you've probably heard of Darwin. He has been given credit for being kind of the father of that idea. But another guy, Alfred Wallace, had the same ideas about evolution, and they lived oceans apart, not even on the same continent. And then back in 1922, some researchers, Ogburn and Thomas, sat down and they were looking around in the world of science, and they counted 148 times a discovery arrived through two or more people at one time. This is flabbergasting. I mean, to count it up in 1922 and to think if somebody cared to do such a thing now with all the technology and the tools that we have that could help them do such a thing, I wonder what the numbers would be like. I think it would be staggering. But here's the thing. These people, even though they had the same idea, they expressed it in their own way. And this idea that your uniqueness is essential to the whole is really what I'm trying to talk about today. Because I feel like so many times, especially in our culture where youth is so glorified, the wisdom and the potential of people that have been on the planet a while and made a few trips around the sun is really discounted in a way that is detrimental to the whole. And it's detrimental to the individual as well. We need to have the attitude that when we have the opportunity to cultivate our full potential, that the gifts that we bring forward out of that are unsurpassed and they can't be replaced. Even if you and I grab down that same idea at the same time, the way that I bring it into the world is not going to be the way that you would bring it into the world. And because of that, the gift of it, whatever the idea is, the gift of it that I would create will touch a group of people, and the gift of the idea, the same idea that you would create your way, will touch a different group of people. And all the groups need the touching of that idea. So your way of expressing and mine are equally important. And that's really to say that you are an essential part. You sitting in your chair are an essential part of the wholeness of life. And to recognize that and to honor that part of you and to allow yourself to bring forward, to give birth to the ideas that are coming to you at this point in your life is very, very important. And not only is it good for you, it's good for your body. There is another area of science called where they're studying something that they've decided to call self-concealment. And this is an attitude that some people have of being fearful of being known. Their own uniqueness, they may not know about their own uniqueness at all themselves, but they for sure don't want anyone else to know it. And so they live in such a way as to be kind of a blank slate, forward facing, so that the essence of who they are is not let out. And that very light that is our essence, when we don't let it out, it inflames the body to hold it back. Isn't that an interesting idea? That if when you deny your full self-expression, that fire that would go into the world as your passion and your motivation and your influence, that very fire burns inside if you don't let it out. So not only does this reaching toward your full potential contribute to the whole, it actually enlivens your own body to be engaged in the creative process in whatever ways are familiar to you, or even if they're new to you, they're exciting to you. They're ideas that light you up. See, I mean, there's that word, light again, light you up inside. And as you let that light out into the world, that nourishes your spirit, it nourishes your very biology. It tells your biology there is still life here. We are still committed. We are still engaged. We are still living fully. Body, we need you to step up because we've got work to do. And work that we love, work that gives us joy, work that adds meaning, adds fulfillment, adds a sense of satisfaction. And that's what you want for any part of your life, but for sure, it's essential nourishment to the third act of life. So I just want to leave you with this idea that you are unique, you are essential, you make a difference, and that difference can be either through your contribution or through your withholding. But either way, you are affecting the whole because you're part of the whole. So take that idea today and let yourself really thrive in the full potential of your being. Comment below and share this article with somebody that needs to know, hey, you make a difference. Get busy and do it. Bye for now.